Another disastrous day in the Trump regime, more disastrous press conferences in the Oval Office. The first press conference with the Prime Minister of Italy by his side, Donald Trump attacking the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Then Donald Trump was signing some executive orders. And then Donald Trump continued to claim that Xi Jinping was trying to reach out to him, which is just a total lie. More economic turmoil we are seeing as Donald Trump's trade war against the world is backfiring everywhere. Countries throughout the world are outmaneuvering him. Donald Trump was smacked down by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in the Abrego Garcia case. They're saying, follow what the Supreme Court's order is. Donald, you lost 9-0. Stop pretending like you won. Also, Donald Trump's regime was held in contempt. A probable cause finding by another judge, this one in Washington, D.C., federal judge Boasberg, found that the Trump DOJ was in contempt by not following the court orders when the court said, return the plane, return the migrants who you are kidnapping before you send them to an extermination camp in El Salvador. Give me a list of the lawyers who were involved in that. If you don't plan on fixing what you did, I will hold them in criminal contempt. And if I need to appoint a special prosecutor to prosecute those people in the DOJ because your DOJ refuses to prosecute them, I will do that. Trump was asked about that. Trump threw the lawyers under the bus. I don't know anything about contempt. You're going to have to ask the lawyers. That's for Pam Bondi and the DOJ lawyers to figure out. Great work, lawyers. You got played and you're heading to contempt right now. You don't have absolute immunity the way the Supreme Court gave it to Donald Trump. Let's talk about that and more on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Guys, how are you doing?
Doing great, Ben. It's good to be here. Good to be here, Jordy. Good to be here, Midas, Mighty, all the people watching here on YouTube, all the people listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You know, what we're seeing right now is exactly what I said we were going to see months and months ago. It's something we've discussed on this show, and that's this idea of a reality deficit in the Trump administration. This happened in his last administration, so it wasn't like it was something that we had to make up from scratch, but Trump lives obviously on his house of cards of lies. That's what his entire administration, that's what everything he does is propped up by his bluster, his propaganda, this cult-like refusal to acknowledge objective reality. It's the same things that autocratic governments do every single day. They have to live in this bubble where facts don't matter. Only perception matters because that's how they exert their strength. However, once reality catches up and that reality deficit is destroyed, then all of a sudden Donald Trump looks much weaker. You start seeing the approval ratings go down. Start seeing the public turn on him in major ways. And that's what we saw in 2019, 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic. Donald Trump's attempt to consistently run away from reality, that caught up to him very badly. And you could argue that he lost the election over his mishandling or malicious handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, however you want to describe it. And now we are seeing that much sooner in this Trump presidency because he's completely tanked the global economy. He's causing chaos in literally every single facet of life. And he cannot escape it. He could say to people all he wants about how great things are, how prices are coming down, how the economy is going great, but people see the reality ultimately. So it shows him as a, emperor with no clothes sort of situation. And it's just happening a lot quicker this time because the benefit that Trump always had, you guys, is that in his first term, he got to ride the coattails of the Obama administration. He got to ride the coattails of the economy that Obama fixed. This time he inherited a growing economy, could have done the same exact thing. He could have just sat there. He could have rode this out. But instead, he decided to take a sledgehammer to the country and to the world and almost ushered in his own demise. And that's what we are witnessing right now. And that's why things feel so chaotic every single day of this administration. I know we're going to break it all down. But, first, I got to check in with Jordy and see how you're doing. Jordy, what's going on, man?
What's up, brothers? What's up, Midas Mighty? I'm happy to be here. Benji, before I toss it to you, I just wanted to give a special shout out to all of the live stream viewers that are watching us now on YouTube or Facebook, wherever y'all are watching us. Thank you, guys. The stream has just been growing and growing, and it's all thanks to y'all for sharing it. And then a special thank you to all of the audio listeners. Our audio numbers have just been crazy lately. And it's all thanks to you guys again for sharing this. The coolest thing was, I think when we started the year, we had about 12 to 15,000 reviews on Apple Podcast. I look today, we're over 30,000 reviews on the audio podcast. So that's all thanks to you guys listening. Go right now. If you haven't, download the audio version of this show, give us a 5-star review and leave a comment. I read all of them. You could say hi to me. It'll be really fun when I read it. And thanks. Benji, where to next?
The parallels between this current economic disaster and the COVID disaster, Brett, as you mentioned, are uncanny because this is the Donald Trump decision-making tree. He turns a mistake into a catastrophe. He turns a catastrophe into a cataclysm. He turns a cataclysm into a complete and utter bankruptcy. That is the Donald Trump decision-making. He makes matters worse. He covers it up. Brett, as you said, there's this reality deficit, meaning he lies about everything. Think about COVID. Like a miracle, it's all going to go away. Well, that's what Donald Trump said. There's 5 cases that are happening. Don't worry. It's never going to hit our shores. Maybe you should inject bleach, right? And he would take you down the worst path ever. And ultimately, who was the scapegoat? Who is the scapegoat for COVID? Dr. Fauci, right? So who does Donald Trump want to make the scapegoat now? Jerome Powell, right? The chairman of the Federal Reserve. He's Fauciing Jerome Powell. And what they're all trying to do now in MAGA is blame the economic cataclysm that's here right now, but will be really picking up soon. It's kind of like the way a tsunami, the shore starts pulling back before the tsunami actually hits. They want to blame it all on Jerome Powell for talking about the data, right? So Jerome Powell was in Chicago at an economic forum. He was simply speaking about the data. That's his job as the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Should be noted, you know who appointed him in 2017? Donald Trump appointed him. I've never been a fan of him. I've never been a big fan of him. Well, you were the guy who appointed him first in 2017. Jerome Powell's term ends in 2026 right now, so about 18 more months to go. And clearly Trump wants to get rid of this guy or wants to blame everything on Jerome Powell. So that's what we're seeing now. All of MAGA saying, oh, the markets are crashing because Powell is talking about it. The same way they blamed Fauci for discussing what was happening for what was
Can I just say, such a brilliant comparison.
I wanted to interrupt him and say that too. I agree.
I never even made that comparison. I never put the 2 and 2 together, but it truly is the exact same formula. It's just absolutely brilliant. That's all I wanted to say.
1,000%.
I appreciate the glaze live in front of tens of thousands of people. Jordy, you want to say more great things?
Yeah, let me continue to gas you up, big bro. That was brilliant. Because you know what else? It's their continuation on the attack of experts, right? We talked about this before. The MAGA cult, they've decided to make the term expert, a dirty word in their eyes. But when experts are presenting them data that conflicts with their own internal feelings, no, Trump's president. This can't be happening under Trump. The expert must be wrong. They lose their shit. They go crazy. Powell is this version, this term's Fauci. Brilliant point, Ben.
And it all plays into that reality deficit that I was speaking of, because Trump in all these positions just wants a sycophant who's going to lie to the American people and prop up his fragile ego every single day. He wants loyalty, not competence, like every single time. And that was one of the things that he learned from his first term, which is a horrific thing that's what he learned from his first term. But he learned, I need all of these loyalists. I need all of these sycophants. I mean, it's the same thing he did with Chris Wray, who he nominated to be the FBI director. Trump personally picked him. The moment that Chris Wray decided to say the election was not stolen, Donald Trump turned on him as well. And this is how you get chaos. This is how you get corruption. This is how it all begins. And this is the epitome of Donald Trump right here.
Right. Jerome Powell's just talking about the data, right? He's saying here is what we see. Here's how we can avoid it. And then the MAGA uses that to say, oh, you're causing the problem. It's what Donald Trump said. If you don't test, you can pretend that the thing is never there in the first place. And in the reality deficit, the Trump regime, the authoritarian, swoops in. And what do they post? America is back. Things are great. Look at all the money we're bringing in. Like, those are Trump's posts that he does in the morning. That's why I cover this stuff, because I have the pathology diagnosis of him. There it is right there. For audio listeners, we're showing you the post that Donald Trump makes. America is back. And what Donald Trump says is, I've got this commitment. I've got this commitment. I've got this. I've got this. The Saudis are going to give me this. Everyone's going to, and it's all lies. And then you go back to the pathology profile of Donald Trump, and he's a criminal. He's a criminal. Okay, he's a felon. What type of felon? A fraud. He committed business record fraud for 34 felony counts. He was found liable for civil fraud. He makes up numbers. That's his whole thing. He makes up numbers, fake valuations of things. He just lies. He says they're bigger than they are. He makes up numbers. That's what he was found liable for. and he's an abuser, and his personality is abusing. So and it's a power thing for him, right? When he said why he's doing these tariffs, he told you why. He said it was because he likes people kissing his ass. He goes, all these countries are coming here. They got to kiss my ass. They got to kiss my ass. He's a sexual abuser. He's found liable for sexual abuse. He's a bankrupter. He's bankrupted company after company after company. Why? Because of all those other factors that I said. When the thing goes bad, he goes into how could I use the bad to help me and screw over all the other people. We're seeing it now on the economy. We're also seeing it in the law. Like, you didn't view Michael Cohen as the red flag to be a lawyer for Donald Trump? Like, Michael Cohen was saying, hey, I'm in Otisville. I became a felon because I did this. And then other lawyers line up, and even big law firms, at your service, Donald. What can we do to help? Like, are you a bunch of idiots? And the thing is, once you accept, like, think about the mafia too, right? Or people who extort people, right? Once you accept and you become someone who gets extorted and you don't stand up to it, do you think the extorter stops there? Or do they go, let me come back and take a little more. Let me go back and take a little more. So even like with these big law firms and some of the universities, right? Even if they are so selfish that they want to do things purely to protect themselves, screw everybody else, view it through a purely selfish decision-making tree lens, you have to reject him even if you're being selfish, because the moment you embrace his first deal, which is extortion, he comes back at you again. The big law firms are seeing it now. We thought we were doing pro bono work to help the world. Really? That's what you think you were going to do? You think you were going to go what? And help Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin send 7 more millionaires to outer space so they could brag about how you thought you were going to be doing that work? Or do you think because Trump's DOJ is now filled with freaking idiots that he's going to use your law firms to try to help him with his tariffs and to try to help him, go after the migrants? Yeah, good luck trying to recruit more people for your law firm as he continues to go after you over and over again. I do want to talk later in this episode. I'm glad Harvard, MIT, some universities are forming defense alliances, PACs. If they go after one, they go after all. What a strange time we're living in, where universities have to form defense pact alliances to stand together to push back against the Trump regime. And we can see in real time who's folding, who's standing up, which firms are folding, which firms are standing up. Shout out to Harvard, shout out to MIT, shout out to Georgetown Law for standing up as well. All right, let me go back somewhat to the outline, though, of what I'm talking about. I was getting very animated right there. Let's start off. I want to show you, though, Donald Trump's latest market manipulation today, the disaster in the Oval Office. Here, Donald Trump claims Xi Jinping, leader of China, is calling Trump, but Trump is like, I'm too good to pick this up. Of course he's trying to reach out to me. Lie, gigantic lie, biggest lie. Here, play this clip.
We're talking.
Have you ever talked directly to President Xi?
I don't want to say that. It's just not appropriate.
But you're speaking. Sorry. Has he called you directly, President Xi, or reached out to try to facilitate a conversation?
Well, you'd think it was pretty obvious that he has, but we will talk about that soon. It's not that important because, honestly, we're going to have a deal. I believe we're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway because we're going to set a certain target, and that's going to be it. You have anything to say about that, Howard?
When he does. I mean, imagine playing with like poker with somebody who, when they hold up their shitty hand, they go. I mean, that's like watching. Like, he lies horribly. It's right there for you to see. So I'm trying to understand this, Donald. So Xi Jinping is calling you while you have Caroline Levitt out there saying, "Please call us, Xi Jinping." Okay, that I'm not supposed to put those data points together, but yes, he's calling you. You're not making a deal because You like that China is now stopping exports of rare earth minerals, that the Hong Kong post office is shutting down things being sent, that China is no longer doing business with Boeing. This is all part of the plan. It's like when they said before, right, that what they were doing with the tariffs was all part of the plan. We think tariffs are both the greatest thing and the worst thing ever. And that, yeah, we rolled out these tariffs against the world, destroyed people's life savings because it was all part of some plan that we had for him to announce a 90-day pause. These people, Brett, Jordy, they're moronic. It's moronic too.
Yeah, I'll take things that never happened for 500, Alex. I mean, it's just the most ridiculous thing on the planet to see these lies every single day. And it's like he's begging China. And the thing is, now he's trying to like form these alliances or trying to like call on other countries like, hey, guys, come join me. Let's help out. Let's all work together against China, right? China's the bad guy, right? It's not us, it's China. Meanwhile, all of our allies, Donald Trump just spent the last few months dissing. Donald Trump just spent the last few months attacking, threatening with annexation, putting tariffs on them. And so Donald Trump has isolated the United States from the entire world. Now the United States is completely isolated. China's going and they're going to our various allies and they're cutting all these deals. I think they slashed U.S. crude oil imports into China by 90%. And they're just like, okay, we'll go to Canada. We're going to get all of our oil from Canada now. See you later. That's already happened. They're going to other countries. And now Trump's like, wait, guys, we're supposed to be together against China, right? We're supposed to be together against China. And they're like, yo, like y'all like have been screwing us for the past few months. Why should we trust anything with you ever? So now Donald Trump finds himself yet again on an island of his own and he's forced to lie. I mean, it's like so pathetic. And you know, China's just got to be laughing at him. Let's face it. Xi Jinping is much smarter than Donald Trump. All these Chinese officials are much smarter than Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and Howard Nutlick and all these other people in the Trump administration. Like, it's not even a close competition. And they know that they could just wait this out and they could go and they could form all their other alliances and find other trade partners. And our allies know they could find all these other trade partners. And Donald Trump is going to desperately be begging. And Donald Trump is begging people to come to the table with him. He's the one who's begging everybody out there, please help me. Let's make a deal. He wants even if it's like a ceremonial deal, he wants to make something just so he could say he actually got something done, that he actually got something for this. All he got, though, was a destruction of the United States economy. He's rattled global markets. He's made a complete fool of himself, of the United States, and of the entire global world order. It's, I mean, pathetic.
Absolutely. And look, I know I'm usually a bit critical on the press corps, not asking tough questions, but I have to give this reporter a shout out. I couldn't exactly see who was asking it, but look, you see what happens when you just apply a little bit of pressure? I mean, the guy, to Ben's point, all of a sudden his tells start coming out and the lies just start coming for everybody to see. I think she did an excellent job there.
You just can't capitulate, right? This is something that we've seen throughout the past few years in all of Donald Trump's legal cases. You have to take Donald Trump head on because, like Ben was saying, if you don't, he's going to keep taking from you. If you think I'm a law firm and I could cut this deal with you and then everything's going to be okay, then how did you pass your bar exam? I don't understand how you could even think that's possible. If you're a company like Paramount or one of these companies who's like, all right, let's settle. Let's go. Let's figure out a deal we could do.
60 minutes route, Brett. You know, give him an inch, he'll take your life. We say it all the time.
Right? Because now what's Trump doing with 60 Minutes? He wants to sue CBS again. He's upset because they ran a piece about Zelensky and he looked bad. He's mad about their reporting. He wants to shut him down. It's the same pattern every single time. But if you actually stand up to him, he looks weak because he is weak. And you need to form these alliances on your own, like the schools are forming with each other. And you need to go after them and you need to stand by your principles because this is about our democracy. This is about the United States of America. And once you get rid of those values, we don't have any of that. And that's what so many of these people are doing right now with their capitulation.
Here's the thing. There were deals with these countries that Trump broke all of them. Again, go back to his Pathology profile. Trump is a deal breaker. Trump has always used contracts as a way to be a predator. I don't know why I did that, but to be a predator, I did like a predator symbol. To be a predator on people's good faith. So people who believe, that's how he cheats, right? I'm playing by the rules. Oh, okay. You're playing by the contract. Screw you. I'm not going to abide by the contract. Well, then what am I going to do? Well, I guess we'll just sue each other. That's Donald Trump's profile. Eventually, that shtick runs out. And that's why Donald Trump goes bankrupt, because, you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And as George W. Bush said, you can't fool me more than twice. And then people start getting it. And then, and then it blows up in his face, because you can't actually run something that way. So I think the world gets it right now. You can't cut deals. There were deals with the world, right? One of them is the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, where Trump basically renamed NAFTA, changed a few things to modernize it during his first term. And then he broke his own deal and said the deal was a stupid deal. Well, that's your deal. We have deals with Japan and South Korea that people like Obama negotiated, or Biden negotiated, or Clinton negotiated, or George W. Bush. We have bilateral, trilateral deals that made America the leader in the world, right? All of the headlines when former President Biden was in office towards the end, when the media pushed him out, was we're the Goldilocks economy. Things are great. We're the envy of the world. Things are amazing. Trump's inheriting the apex of American economic power in the world, #1 GDP in the world. And then Donald Trump took a wrecking ball and destroyed that, broke deal after deal. I mean, you take a look, the S&P is record lows. You take a look at all these Federal Reserve surveys, and there's all these different ones now. Part of observing Trump and reporting on him, you learn things that you never even knew before. Like all of a sudden you start having to look at forward-looking indicators by the New York Manufacturing Survey, and you have to compare that with the one from the Philly survey. And then you see all this data, and it's like, this is the worst it's ever been since 9/11. This is the worst.
Can I tell you a new thing that I have to do every day that I never had to do under the Biden administration?
Futures.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I know that I have the profile on Brett.
You do the same thing. Yeah, I go to bed.
Same thing with Brett as I do. I got you all.
Let's check the Dow futures.
I got to check the futures. I got to look at how NVIDIA's trade. I just want to go and read a book at night before I go to sleep. I want to go and watch a TV show in peace and not go, oh, what's he going to do now? Is another person disappeared? You've got the person in Leon County in Florida, an American citizen who's currently being detained under an ICE order, an American citizen who showed his papers, and a state court judge in Florida says we can't do anything, and it's an American citizen. We got Trump with Bukele earlier this week, the leader of El Salvador. Trump's talking about putting the homegrowns in more El Salvador concentration camps. I mean, you've got American senators, Democrats now going there and being told that the leader of El Salvador does not want to meet with American delegations. While you got MAGA Republicans showing up, they get the red carpet treatment when they go to the extermination camps, and they're doing the Abu Ghraib thumbs up photos in front of the extermination camps, where we know from reporting, whether it was 60 Minutes or other independent reporting, that 75 to 85% of the migrants who were brought there have no criminal history at all. No criminal history in their home country or in the United States are there with no due process. So when we get back, I want to talk about the order from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal, one of the most scathing orders, if not the most scathing I've ever read in my legal career on the Abrego Garcia matter. And as they said, and as we say here, because it's not just about Abrego Garcia. It's about Abrego Garcia. It's about the other migrants who Donald Trump put in extermination camps. It's about the next group. And then it's about, as Trump says, the homegrowns. It's about you. It's about all of us. That's where this is heading next if it isn't stopped. And the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals acknowledges that in their order. We'll talk about that and more. I want to remind everybody, after this show ends, so right around 9:15 Eastern, 6:15 Pacific or so, maybe a little earlier, because right when the show ends, we then go live. It's the State of MeidasTouch address, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You could ask us questions. We'll take as many as we can in the time period, but it's the State of MeidasTouch address, our growth, where we go from here. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Check it out. I'm so excited to see as many of you there as can be there. Also, don't forget store.MeidasTouch.com. Get your MeidasTouch gear, including the Maple Midas gear, at 100% made in Canada and a bunch of other incredible gear as well. I also put out a note. What should we call the Australian MeidasTouch fans? What I think is winning is Midas Mate. Midas Mate. We got Maple Midas, Midas Mate.
I need to see the answers to this poll.
We will see. We'll be right back after our first quick break of the show. Quick break.
So I've been drinking way less lately because the fallout for me the next day just seems to get worse as I get older. But sometimes I still want to kick back without the hangover or that bloated feeling. That's why I'm psyched I found out about Sol's out-of-office THC beverages. They've been a great low-calorie, gluten-free alternative, and they don't cause hangovers. You probably heard me rave about their out-of-office gummies, but now they've launched something even better. Out-of-office THC beverages, and they are exactly what I've been missing. I cracked open a raspberry lemonade last night, felt like I was sipping summertime in a can. It's this perfect little microdose of THC and CBD that gives you that chill, euphoric feeling, no hangover, no regrets. And the flavors, raspberry lemonade and cucumber melon lime, total crowd pleasers. Plus, you get to pick your dose, 2.5 milligrams or 5 milligrams THC in 6, 12, or 24 packs, so you could ease into your vibe your way. Sol's drinks have become a go-to in my house. They've really helped me chill out after a crazy day, and you know I have a lot of those, and I love the company's emphasis on health and wellness. By the way, shout out to the founders, Mike and Angie Lee, a former pro boxer and a wellness speaker who built Sol to offer natural alternatives to stress, sleep, focus, you name it. The MeidasTouch Network is a sibling-run business, so I love seeing siblings doing great work in other spaces. So if you want to feel your best, head to getsol.com and use code Meidas for 30% off your order. That's 30% off your order using code Meidas. One last time, getsol.com and code Meidas, MEIDAS, for 30% off.
Look, starting a new business can be intimidating. I get it. MeidasTouch Network was not built overnight. You need the tools to help you engage in the day-to-day tasks, the growth. And so it's why we use Shopify. It made things easy for us. And I think you should use Shopify too. So Shopify is a commerce platform. It is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands like the MeidasTouch Network. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style, accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you, even if you don't. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling to the MeidasTouch Network. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert. And with its world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond, you can count on Shopify. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. So turn your big business idea into boom, boom, boom with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Meidas. Go to shopify.com/Meidas. One more time. That's shopify.com/Meidas.
Boom, boom, boom. Unbelievable.
You guys were fucking me. So the audience doesn't know, but they were supposed to put the sound in. I was doing boom, boom, boom for where the sound is supposed to go. And y'all just pranked me in front of millions of people. And it had me go boom, boom. You know it's supposed to go. It was supposed to be ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. That's what's supposed to happen. Why'd you leave that in there?
It stays in the show. You gotta love the boom.
You just had me go boom. I specifically flagged that as my note.
I bet Shopify.com/Meidas. I bet that URL goes crazy right now. Thank you to our sponsors. Links.
I'm sure it goes boom, boom, boom.
Of the YouTube and the audio. Click the links. Use the codes. Let everybody know that we sent you. And Benji, before we move on, I just wanted to make sure I got that George W. Bush quote right, because it's a pretty famous one. So I checked it out. It's actually, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again.
Classic.
That was me reiterating. Yeah. Benji, where to next?
I think I kind of
Ben. Bring the boom. Bring the boom.
Here comes Ben. Boom, boom, boom. There we go, everybody. All right, let's talk about some serious things though. So Judge Boasberg, Washington D.C. federal judge. He was the judge who made the initial order where the group of 200 migrants were sent to El Salvador originally several weeks back. And he said, stop the plane, stop it from going out. And the Trump regime knew there was an order. They could have stopped it, but they disobeyed the order. So Judge Boasberg just found the Trump regime in contempt, in criminal contempt. That means jail. That means I'm going to throw people behind bars. He said, but you can cure it. You can bring back the people and cure what you did by screwing up, and then I won't hold people in contempt. If you don't want to cure, then here's what I'm going to do. I want a list of everybody from the DOJ who knew about the order, who disobeyed the order. Trump may have absolute immunity. I'm throwing the lawyers in jail. Yeah, I'm putting the DOJ lawyers, the people who worked at ICE, they're going into jail. And okay, the DOJ doesn't want to prosecute it because it's run by Pam Bondi and the corrupt Trump regime. I know how to deal with that. I could appoint my own special counsel. So I'm going to appoint a prosecutor. They're going to charge you with crimes, and that case is going to be prosecuted if you don't cure it. And what did Donald Trump say? Donald Trump was asked about it in the Oval Office, and Trump threw the lawyers under the bus. Trump didn't say, I'm going to protect the lawyers. I'm going to defend the lawyers. I think Judge Boasberg got it wrong. Do you think that's what Trump did? No, Trump said, you're going to have to ask the lawyers. I don't have anything to do with it. So let me get this straight. After having Bukele with you, after talking about the homegrowns that you want to put in extermination camps, after Bukele was like, what do you want me to do? There's nothing I could. You want me to bring back terrorists into the United States? Why would I smuggle terrorists? So after you do that show, after you order the DOJ to do that, now that the DOJ has been found in violation of the law, I'm going to talk a little bit separately about the federal court in Maryland. Let's first start with what's happening in Washington, D.C. federal court. Those are two separate proceedings. Abrego is a different case, which I think those lawyers and those declarants are headed for contempt. State Department people, career people who are covering for Trump contempt. So let's show you Trump in the Oval Office today, where Trump is asked about Boasberg contempt. And here's what Trump says.
Are you trying to remove him, Mr. President?
Do you have a question?
Mr. President, yesterday Judge Boasberg, in a case against your administration, said the Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, you're going to have to speak to the lawyers. We have great lawyers. I can tell you this, we're doing a fantastic job of getting criminals out of this country who Biden allowed into the country. Hundreds of thousands of criminals, murderers, and...
Let's be very clear. Let's take Abrego Garcia, for example, because I want to talk about him next. Abrego Garcia's immigration file says the following. No criminal history. No crimes. Zero crimes. Okay? There was a withholding order in 2019. Who was president in 2019? Was it Biden? No. Who was president? Trump. Immigration judge in 2019 issued a withholding order, which said, if you want to deport Abrego Garcia, Trump administration or future administrations, you can do it. Not to El Salvador. You can do it to any other country. Otherwise, Abrego can show up to ICE, check in, work, and live a productive life here. Your option, Trump administration, Biden administration, new Trump administration, you can deport, not to El Salvador. If this was the leader of the MS-13 in 2019, if this was a hardened gang member, a terrorist, why would the Trump regime in 2019, or the first Trump administration in 2019, 2020, after they got that order, just let the guy go to work? Does that make any sense to you? Or maybe, just maybe, the guy's not a terrorist. It says no criminal history. There was an accusation by a confidential informant laundered through a disgraced police officer who ended up pleading guilty to paying a prostitute for sex and giving confidential information to a prostitute. A crooked cop put in a declaration that he believed, and is a disgraced cop known for lying, that he believed Abrego was part of the Western Clique, which is in Long Island. Abrego never lived on Long Island. But the sole accusation of I want to just be real. Where is there an accusation out there? Yes, it comes from a crooked cop based on a spurious source, but there's no criminal history. And in any event, there could have been a deportation, not to El Salvador, to another country. And he did not get due process to violate, for the Trump regime to violate an order, a withholding order. Now, even if this person actually was a bad guy, our system in the United States is still, you get due process. Even if you're a migrant, you get a process. After 9/11, there were multiple cases like this before the Supreme Court. There was a case, Hamdi versus Rumfeld, and many others that talked about military tribunals and enemy combatants can't be held indefinitely in Guantanamo Bay and places. There needs to be some sort of process. In the United States of America, you can't have people picked up, disappeared, sent to extermination camps, and then a regime say, we don't have jurisdiction. If they thought that this was a bad guy, then prove it, then show the evidence, show the things. The 2019 judge clearly didn't think this person was that big of a threat and a danger, where it was an optional move if you wanted to deport. It was an affiliation, not being directly in the gang. It was based on a declaration that nobody really believes is credible. In any event, you can't send the guy to El Salvador. That was very, very, very clear. This said you're going to kill the person if you send him to El Salvador. Let me just read from you what the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals did. Because remember, the Supreme Court 9-0 said Donald with Abrego, return Abrego, facilitate the return. Okay. So after that order's issued, it goes back to the trial court, the federal court. That judge, not Boasberg, different judge in Maryland, Judge Zinnes. Boasberg's a judge in D.C. Judge Zinnes is the Maryland judge. She has jurisdiction over the case because it's a federal issue, and Abrego is from Maryland. That's why it's in that specific case. So she says, I want expedited, aggressive discovery to understand what the Trump regime is doing to facilitate the return. Depositions, document requests, interrogatories. That's all she said. I need to implement the Supreme Court's order. So tell me what you're doing every day to facilitate the return, right? Donald Trump worked to facilitate the return of the Tate brothers, from Romania. He had people work, who were helping out there apparently. You've got Trump. And our government has facilitated on an extradition basis, like El Chapo, right? We've tried to, even the worst people are extradited here. And there's a process about going about that. Abrego's not them. We've brought to the United States the actual top MS-13 leaders to prosecute here, to extradite because of their crimes in the U.S., because our system of justice was supposed to be the toughest in the world, not a way to send people to El Salvador extermination camps. El Salvador has sent back people to the United States already, women who shouldn't go there, other people that they decided not to take. So it's not some new thing that El Salvador can send people back. Facilitate the return, 9-0. By the Supreme Court, the federal judge says, tell me what you're doing. Trump appeals that. You are encroaching on the executive branch. Trump appeals it to the Fourth Circuit. Let me read for you. I don't want there to be ambiguity in the language. It's a 3-0 decision, 3-judge panel, unanimous. Judge Wilkinson, who wrote this, was appointed by Ronald Reagan. This is a Reagan conservative writing for a unanimous panel right here of federal judges. Upon review of the government's motion, the court denies the motion for an emergency stay pending appeal and for a writ of mandamus. The relief the government is requesting is both extraordinary and premature. While we fully respect the executive's robust assertions of its Article 2 powers, we shall not micromanage the efforts of a fine district judge attempting to implement the Supreme Court's recent decision. It is difficult in some cases to get to the very heart of the matter, but in this case, it is not hard at all. The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. Further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there is nothing that can be done. This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. The government asserts that Abrego Garcia is a terrorist and member of MS-13. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. If the government is confident of its position, it should be assured that position will prevail in proceedings to terminate the withholding of removal order. Moreover, the government has conceded that Abrego Garcia was wrongly or mistakenly deported. Why then should it not make what was wrong right? Make it right. You said you did it wrong. The executive possesses enormous powers to prosecute and to deport, but with powers come restraints. If today the executive claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? And what assurance shall there be that the executive will not train its broad discretionary powers upon its political enemies? The threat, even if not actuality, will always be present, and the executive's obligation to take care that laws be faithfully executed would lose its meaning. Now the branches, judiciary and executive, are coming close to grinding irrevocably against one another in a conflict that promises to diminish both. This is a losing proposition all around. The judiciary will lose much from the constant intimations of its illegitimacy, to which by dint of custom and detachment, we can only sparingly reply. The executive will lose much from a public perception of its lawlessness and all of its attendant contagions. The executive may succeed for a time in weakening the courts, but over time, history will script the tragic gap between what was and all that might have been, and law in time will sign its epitaph. Power, I mean, powerful stuff right there.
Sorry, go on.
From a Reagan-appointed judge in that unanimous panel saying, this is it. You may, Donald, disobey the order. You may go and think it's a win. Over time, this will just show how lawless you are, and it will destroy any legitimacy, a shred of legitimacy that the executive branch has. You're about to destroy the Constitution, is what the judge is saying.
Dare I say that made me a little hopeful to read that. That was a very powerful statement for sure. And, I think that message is incredibly important. I think some people are treating this like it's some sort of game. I think too many in the media are treating this like it's some sort of game, but it really gets into the heart of what it means to be the United States of America. And that's why this is so important. I saw pundits and this guy's the worst with literally, I don't think he's ever had a good take in his entire life. But Chris Cillizza, who I think he used to be at CNN. I don't think he's at CNN anymore. He did this whole Twitter thread that I'm reading it right now. He said, let me make the case for why Democrats should not keep talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And he's like, when you're talking about that, you're not talking about the economy. Did you even know that the Dow Jones dropped earlier this week? Did you even know that the trade, this, that, right? Yes, everybody knows all that. Okay. We all know that. Okay. We can understand that that's happening and that affects people's lives. And it doesn't have to be messaged every single day, because people feel that when they go to the store, they feel that when they look at their 401ks, people are seeing that all the time. But you want people to ignore one of the greatest human rights abuses that we are witnessing before our eyes, like crimes against humanity that are being committed by the United States of America. You want us to ignore it for political reasons. I've seen some politicians say things like this, some political pundits. It's just like, it's the worst kind of take on politics. And it falls into this category of analysis that I freaking despise, which is, oh, here's how this is going to help Trump. Here's how this is going to help Trump. Oh, so this is actually a good thing for Trump, actually. This is actually a great thing for him. Like, stop it. That's the laziest analysis imaginable. That's not true. And you have to be able to stand up for your basic principles if you want to lead. You don't just go, oh, it's not that important because the Dow Jones. You think people said that during Nazi Germany? And they're like, but the stock market, let's focus on the stock market. It doesn't matter what Hitler's doing. You have to be able to focus on these things that are existential to people's lives, to what our country is built on. This gets at the very foundation of this country. And by the way, the premise that this is popular is bullshit also. It's a complete fabrication. Yes, people like the idea of deportations when you poll them. Yes, people like this kind of strong immigration approach. But when you actually go granular through the data and you ask them about the Abrego Garcia case, Trump is completely underwater on this subject. When you actually ask about, are you okay with sending people to El Salvador prison camps, Trump goes underwater on these subjects. Once you actually get into the details, are you okay with sending somebody who's been in this country for 30 years and is going through all the right things with immigration? Are you okay with sending them away? Trump is completely underwater under all those specific scenarios that you do. So what you don't do is retreat and go, oh, I'm not going to support that because we need to talk about taxes. We need to talk about the Dow Jones. You got to stand up for your values. I think this is one of the things that people hate about politics and hate about political pundits and hate about the media. It's that they always view everything like it's a freaking game. There are lives on the line here. It's the American experiment on the line here. And that's why it's more important than ever to hear comments from judges just like that, who lay it out with the perfect clarity that we all need and really say the stakes. Because what the judge said and what Donald Trump wants to do here is basically find a loophole for the entire American system, basically find a loophole for the United States Constitution, which is, as long as I get this person out of the country and put them in this other place, nothing could be done. Nothing could be, no rules, no constitution, nothing. You can't touch me. And the judge is saying that's a real problem. And that's not okay. And we need to stop this, nip this in the bud right now, because if he thinks he could do it with this individual, guess who he's coming for next? He's coming for you. He's coming for his political enemies. And it's the truth.
That was a message also by that Reagan appointed judge to the Supreme Court, to Justice John Roberts, right? If you understand the subtleties with which judges writes to, the secret coded message there was, I can't believe you idiots gave this guy absolute immunity. And now he's bringing it to the point where you may not be able to stop him. So the best we can do is let him know that what he's ultimately going to create from a self-preservation standpoint is his own demise by ushering in the illegitimacy of his own reign. And Brett, one more point you make that I think is really important, how words matter. When the media acts like this is all just part of deportations and strong border and things like this and conflates it, they are normalizing Trump's behavior the same way they did on the campaign. They're taking it and they're framing it through, we need strong borders. Shut the F up. We need strong borders. I agree. Americans, if you poll, agree. Should you have strong borders? You should have strong borders. That's why former President Biden did a bipartisan border bill that would have invested heavily in doing this the lawful way with dignity. By the way, you want to go over data on deportations with all of this even happening right now? Did you all know there were more deportations by a significant amount under former President Biden than Donald Trump at this exact time? During the month of Biden this time last year versus Donald Trump now? And you may go, well, how is that possible? Because Biden did it the right way, using legal process where people with actual criminal records were removed quickly, efficiently, and it was dealt with. They'd go to the countries where they were supposed to, and it would happen. Donald Trump is picking the people who shouldn't be going mostly and treating them cruelly and torturing them publicly to make a show of it, knowing that corporate media will act like that is strong when that is actually wrong. But guess what? MeidasTouch in town right now. We're getting more views because people want the truth. They want people who call it a regime when it's a regime, who call extermination camps, who talk about kidnapping and disappearing people. That's what's happening, not deporting them, kidnapping people. And we'll talk about it in the language because that's what's actually happening. It's easy to do it because that's actually what's happening. The hard thing, I think, is coming up with all of these constructs to try to act like what's happening isn't happening. That's why we're doing the State of MeidasTouch address after this. 6:15, I want you to join patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's 6:15 Pacific, 9:15 Eastern, right around then. Whenever this show ends specifically, that's when we'll go on patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Also, get your merch. If you're going to join us tonight, if you got Meidas merch already, let's see you wear that Meidas merch. Store.MeidasTouch.com, store.MeidasTouch.com. We got the Maple Meidas gear, 100% made in Canada. You can also buy that in the United States, but it's 100% made in Canada. And then we've got a bunch of other Meidas gear as well. Store.MeidasTouch.com. We'll be right back after our last quick break.
As you know, I'm a dad, and well, I've just been having the greatest time ever. Here's the thing, I never knew just how important it was what we give our children. Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise. They're filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk that growing kids should never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills in the most important common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment that our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you can imagine. Hiya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. Like I said, I'm a dad, and I want to make sure that I give my child the best possible vitamins, and that's why I'm so happy to have come across Hiya Health. The ingredients are amazing, and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Hiya Health is made without that stuff, and it's able to keep the great taste. Now, we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. Now, to claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas. Now, this deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. This episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. Wild Grain's boxes are fully customizable to your taste and dietary restrictions, in addition to their classic variety box. They recently launched a new gluten-free box and a plant-based box that is 100% vegan. Best of all, they take the hassle out of baking, since all items bake from frozen in 25 minutes or less with no mess or cleanup. Now, my personal experience with Wild Grain has been incredible. I wouldn't steer you wrong. It's super convenient and all the products are high quality and super fresh. I cannot say enough good things about Wild Grain, and I know that you're going to love them as much as I do. Are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Be sure to check out Wild Grain so you can begin building your own box for artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/Meidas to start your subscription. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let they know that we sent you. Wild Grain has been my go-to. Definitely check that out. Link in description. Benji, where to next?
Check it out. Boom, boom, boom. Check it out.
Boom, boom, boom.
Discount codes are in the description. There are some other tells as well that don't get enough attention. And when I craft this kind of pathology profile, and I try to understand. You can almost predict what he's going to do on a day-to-day basis, and you can build your reporting around it when you study him being a malignant narcissist, when you study his failures in the past, when you just study his very flawed and demented decision-making, tree. Look, in the past, what did Donald Trump say about our troops who were killed or injured in battle? They're suckers and losers. I never said that, but we heard him say things like that were reported. We heard how he talked about McCain. He said McCain wasn't a hero. He would make a lot of statements like that. He would say the medals that are given to civilians are better than the medals that are given to people who are injured or lose their lives in battle. We've heard him say things like that. So we know how he feels. So other than when he was asked a question and didn't know the status of the 4 American soldiers who died in Lithuania, Trump say anything about the 4 soldiers who died in Lithuania to this day? No, he did not. Did he make a message, post, anything? Was he there when the bodies were sent back after Lithuania had this incredibly moving send-off? Was he there? No, he was not there. Do you all know that 2 service members were killed near the U.S.-Mexico border in a vehicle accident this week, and a 3rd member of the military was severely injured? This was as part of Donald Trump sending troops to the border as part of his, war on the border, whatever he's saying, this cosplay. 2 troops dead, 1 injured. Did Donald Trump make any message about that? Has he said anything and acknowledged the death of American soldiers? No. And that's not normal. Okay. Former presidents would always acknowledge it. It's not merely symbolic. They're the commander in chief. That's what you're supposed to do as the leader. That's what you do. And when you don't do that, that's very revealing about who you are and what you perceive your role to be. Have you heard Donald Trump make any statements about any of these disasters that have been hitting? There was the horrible storms in Kentucky and in the surrounding areas recently. And have you heard him make any statements about the deaths, the tornadoes, things like about people? Like lots of people got killed with tragic weather events lately. Have you heard him say anything? No. He was racing around. He was in the motorcade going around in circles, on the racetrack, and he was golfing, and he was posing in front of gold statues of himself, doing pink Birkin bag Hermes parties at Mar-a-Lago. Did he say anything about these storms and people who lost their lives? No. And again, that's not normal behavior for a leader. A leader would talk about those issues and express sympathy. Not Donald Trump. A governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro, was targeted with an assassination attempt at his residence, where the attacker who wanted to murder, an attempted murder of Governor Shapiro, got pretty far. He burned down a significant portion of the residence, and he had a hammer, and he was ready to kill Governor Shapiro. Donald Trump has not reached out to Governor Shapiro, not once. When Donald Trump was on Air Force One and he was talking about golfing and the Masters earlier this week, he was asked about Shapiro. And here we have Trump's response from earlier in the week. No message about Governor Shapiro. It's a governor of again, this is not normal. You put this all together and you can start saying, this guy's a bad guy, like this, not political, like not in a political way. This is a bad human being. This is a trash person. Here, play this clip of what he said about Shapiro. Please.
Mr. President, any reaction to the governor of Pennsylvania, his mansion set on fire? Do you have any reaction?
I just heard about it. No, I have to look into it.
You got the perfect health report. All everybody in the press wants to know this. How do you do it, Mr. President? I haven't set up the 2 a.m.
And do you see the propagandist media? Oh, how are you staying so healthy? How are you only weighing 224 pounds and saying that your health is based on the fact that you win golf tournaments? Because it's all bullshit. The whole thing is no offense to clowns, which is a real profession, fascist, clownish Kim Jong-un stuff. When I look at the cabinet meetings, I've said this before, but I want to repeat it. Trump's cabinet meetings look like the lost season of The Apprentice that was so bad that nobody could actually put it on TV. It's Apprentice meets Kim Jong-un. It's terrible. And frankly, the characters in The Apprentice would do better running the country than these clowns are doing every day. Trump was asked about the horrible shooting in FSU today, another shooting at a school. Watch how Trump answers it in the Oval Office. Play this clip.
President, we're learning that there are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Following and amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well, I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. And we'll have more to say about it later.
What do you mean when you say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
That's his response. You put those all together, those clips that I just shared with you. And again, in a non-political way, that's very, very disturbing stuff. So what's Fox doing? How is propaganda media treating this right now? Well, the first thing they want to let you know, and again, this is how I did it on our Substack on MeidasPlus.com. I said that they basically turned these people's brains who watch it into like red globular MAGA mush at this point, these zombified MAGAs who watch this stuff. I'll show you this first clip here of, this is what they had on this morning. A faith leader saying that everybody knows how religious Trump is and everyone knows that he's, just loves Jesus, loves God. Here, watch. This is what they're showing their audience every day. Here, play this clip.
Tell us about President Trump's faith. I know that he has said publicly that the assassination attempts did change him and make him closer to God. There are a lot of people in the Christian community when we talk that will say they believe that God had a plan in all of this and spared his life so that he could go on to become president. How have those assassination attempts and becoming president changed his life?
Right. Well, first, I think people need to know that President Trump has had faith in his life as in his early ages, going to Sunday school. One of his treasures books is the Bible given to him by his mother. And then fast forward into his adulthood in 2000, when he called Pastor Paula White and was watching Christian television. So remember, before he even thought about being president, he was watching Christian television. And so faith has been a big part of his life.
Okay, it's watching the crazy. This is that's just the craziest stuff. It's again like North Korea. Kim Jong-un must watch that and go, "Wow, could we run that back? How do we do some stories like that here?" And then I want to show you this other one they do. And yes, it's weird and it's gross, but there's a broader thing that they're doing here, and it's also a psychological thing that I want to share with you. But they've been getting extra weird on Fox as the markets crash, as things go worse. You know how kind of like when you don't want to tell you want to hide something from someone, right? And you behave strangely, and then someone goes, "Is everything okay? Are you trying to hide something?" It's a version of that they don't know what else to talk about, because if they were talking about the issues that matter to the American people, it's all bad. So they turn their network, because the propaganda is not working, and they turn it into like this weird gong show. And so what they focused on earlier was how they love eating things off the floor. And so they were talking about how Pete Hegseth, when he would work at Fox, in addition to not washing his hands for 10 years, he would take bagels with cream cheese, smear it on the floor, get the dirt on it, and then lick it and then start to eat the bagels. And then another Fox host dropped the banana on the floor on purpose and then said, "Watch me eat a dirty banana." Not just so you see that this is happening. This is what I just want to show you what they're doing. And then the MAGA mush viewers are like, "Oh, okay. Oh, I guess there's nothing else important on that we're talking about." Okay. Here, watch this.
And survive in the world, because there's germs everywhere.
Joe?
Let's put it to the test, shall we?
Oh,
I have a banana from the green room.
Joe,
There it goes.
No.
1, 2, 3,
No.
4.
No, but that's
Are you
wet.
going to eat it?
This is there is so
Do I
much
do
junk
it?
on this. No, please.
You
Everyone's
work her every day. Don't they vacuum this stuff?
No, but look, the bottom of our shoes walk around New York City. No. Okay, should we go ahead and call out sick for him next week?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let me get a doctor. See, that is the wrong consistency. I'm going to be really.
I'm going to
I
tell
think
you
I'm
what.
gonna go now.
This guy is definitely auditioning for the Pete Hegseth seat.
Yes. Pete Hegseth
share
would
that.
drop. Okay, Pete Hegseth would have a bagel with cream cheese. He would drop it. It would land upside down, the cream cheese on the floor, and he would pick it up. I'm like, wait, is there any hair on there?
Oh no!
It is so gross, and he would just pop it in his mouth.
There's also a
Hair.
rumor that Pete did not wash his hands after
He said that one time on air. Yeah.
Really? In every scenario, he
He's
wouldn't wash
tough.
his hands?
He's like an army guy. You know, he's tough.
Tough is one thing, but are certain.
Look, I agree.
He's like an army guy. You know, all the army guys who just eat trash off the floor. Brett, Jordy.
No words, no words. It's like one of those radio, morning shows or something. It's just supposed to like humanize the guy and make it all sound silly and jokey. And it's all a part of the way, like it seems, benign, but it's all a part of the nefarious way that Fox kind of pulls people in order to then spread their propaganda and make these people who are doing heinous things like disappearing people off the streets feel like they are acting with humanity when they are completely doing the opposite. It's all intentional. Even the fact, the way the sets look, the way the hosts look, the way the graphics look, the way it all appears like it is news as they're saying this drivel every single day. It's all designed to project the optics of take us seriously. This is news. We're your friends. Hey, we're called Fox and Friends. We're just your buddies over here. We're hanging out with you, right? We wouldn't lie to you, right? And then they just take you into this world. It's why the New York Post and all these other Murdoch entities also layer in a lot of this cultural stuff. Like that's why the New York Post especially leans into like celebrity gossip and stuff like that, because they know once they pull you in with these salacious stories about these other various topics, they could get you to think anything. They could then direct you to all pro-Trump stuff, and they could then tell you that it's actually not a problem that Supreme Court orders are being ignored. And that might start with some weird little article about, Justin Bieber or something that they're putting up there, or the Kardashian, whatever they're doing, right? Then they pull you in, then they got you, and then you're in their ecosystem. And so that's one of the biggest problems with our country, honestly, like right there, summed up in that video.
Exactly.
No, exactly. One sec here. The naming conventions, Brad, that's a brilliant point. Fox and Friends. We're your friends. We wouldn't lie to you. We're friends. Fox and Friends. Fox News. We're news. You got to take us seriously. Oh, we have the graphics. We have the breaking news chyrons. We're news. Yikes. I mean, really just some pathetic stuff. On a side note, and I know it's not the point, and I'm not, just how many times do you have to drop the bagel on the floor to be known as the guy who consistently drops the bagel on the floor and eats it? Like just how, like, it seems like that was a staple he seems kind of like a gross guy. He's not washing his hands. He's eating stuff off the floor. It's a gross guy.
I mean, they're gross people, Jordan.
And while we're talking about him, they want you to forget about Signalgate.
Right.
I mean, they want to act like that didn't happen. Signalgate, we said the story's over. Media doesn't cover it anymore. I'm still going to talk about it here on the MeidasTouch Network. We talk about it a lot. The fact that you're having classified communications on text message threads and inviting incorrectly reporters onto your chat while you talk about plans, then you say they're not war plans. It almost goes back to what the Fourth Circuit Judge Wilkinson, the Reagan appointed judge, says. Like, you may say the story's over, but you have no credibility anymore. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you've done that, and now do you think that other intelligence services are going to be giving you information? Do you think that you're viewed as someone who others can work with in NATO and elsewhere? No, you can't. So good work. You've covered it up. You said you're not talking about it. I guess you have the authority to do that, but you're looked as fascist clowns. Everything that everybody warned about you proved why you don't have the character to be in that position. So if you view that as a win, that you've proved all of your detractors correct about how bad you are, good. That's your win. Congrats. Though, what I like to see ABC always be campaigning. Always be campaigning. That doesn't mean campaigning for office. Campaigning for human beings. Campaigning for humanity and basic values. And what I love about the Bernie Sanders AOC Fight the Oligarchy tour is that that's what they're talking about. They're talking about issues that aren't talked about. When I interviewed Senator Sanders, that's what he said to me. He goes, what's so interesting is that often the most important issues in people's lives are the least discussed issues by the media. Education and healthcare and housing, right? Equality, and then going into issues of climate and going into issues of freedom and going into these, these very, very important issues. So AOC and Bernie Sanders, they were in Idaho, they were in Salt Lake City, they were in Missoula and Montana, they were in red areas in Los Angeles. Over the past 5 days or so, they took 7 stops, 4 states, 146,000 people turned out. 4 reps, 4 MAGAs we targeted announced they will not support reconciliations in the bill, the budget, that includes cuts to Medicaid. We'll see about that because they lie about everything. But I think the most important thing is when they're out there, when they're speaking to people, but not just speaking, when they're listening to what people are going through, and when you're letting people know that you care about them and you're showing that you care about them, and you're not doing it because it's tied to an election, you're doing it because you care about people, then that ultimately pays dividends and you can win elections by doing that. As I said in our Substack on MeidasPlus.com, the one thing that Trump is great at is fraud. Maybe the best fraudster in the history of humanity. Doesn't care. It's all a game to him. He lies like someone breathes who's alive. That's his ethos. So he can just say whatever to anybody. But if you show up and you show people you care, if you're truly empathetic and you listen to people and you talk to people about what it is they're going through, what it means that people are living paycheck to paycheck, what it means that people can't afford health care, they need education, and their education systems are bad. If you listen to what people are saying, you'll be able to build authentic relationships with people in the long run. So the fact that they did these 5 stops recently, or 7 stops, 5 states, and then over the past month and a half, 2 months, they've been going state to state, that we've been seeing a lot of Democrats going into red states and purple areas and fighting. I think that's important. What Cory Booker did in the Senate, 25 hours of a speech, it brings attention to issues. What Senator Van Hollen did going to El Salvador, I think that is helpful to show what's going on. These things get covered and people talk about them. It keeps things in the news. It keeps people engaged with these issues. And it's an honor that we here at the MeidasTouch Network can use our platform here to cover the things that the news was never going to cover. They had their pact with Trump that they weren't going to cover the protests and this and that. We cover the protests and the shadow hearings and the Bernie AOC rallies, all of the stuff that corporate news didn't do. And guess what? We're bigger than them now. We get more views than them now. I don't say that to brag. I say that because that means more people are getting this information that they never wanted out there, that Trump never wanted out there. And we're only continuing to grow. Thanks to you, the Meidas Mighty. We're so grateful for your support. Thank you for keeping this show the biggest podcast, the most viewed podcast in America right now. We're getting 2.5, 3 times as many monthly downloads as Rogan. More people watch us on YouTube than Fox News. We're the fastest growing Substack in the world right now. Check that out at MeidasPlus.com. And the State of MeidasTouch address, it's happening right now. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. If you got Meidas gear at store.MeidasTouch.com, wear it. If not, go to store.MeidasTouch.com. Check it out. We'll see you there. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There's a secret link there. Go and check it out. And again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. We're in this together. We're fighting together. We'll be by your side every step of the way. We appreciate your trust. Let's keep building. Let's keep growing. We got this. We got this. Thank you all so much. Jordy?
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
Against the fascist
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.